So we're on the Snake Pass, just at the lay-by, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. We've got, safe to say, a steep learning curve this week, because not only have we got a completely new place, because I've never camped up on the edge we're going to, but I'm also using a completely different method of camping, which hopefully is going to be a real, let's say a door opener. It could really open up the realms of possibilities of places where I can camp, including some very stealthy locations. I can see the Peak District random naming squad have been out in force again. This is Cutthroat Bridge. Anybody know what? Going to try and get the shots framed a bit better this week. I suppose I better do a Movember update. So that's the tash. I have moved 28 kilometres this week so far, and I have raised 75 quid so far. And here we are at the Hurkling Stones. I've had a quick look, and I think I've found an area that's going to be suitable for what I want. Not going to have a stunning view tonight though, look at that. Just come across this strange thing. Obviously a sink of some kind. But look at that. What a set of scruffy bastards. Take your shit home. You carried it up here, carry it bloody down. Who's going to take that home for you? Ugh, makes my blood boil. Got some very sad news. My daughter, Kerry, had a litter of pups for somebody else about 10 years ago. And one of the dogs she kept. Now she says it's because nobody else wanted it, but he was such a little love that she kept him. And Brian was, just such a lovely dog. I'll put some pictures up. Not long after that, we went for a walk around a local beauty spot, and he hadn't had his jabs, so I carried him on the I don't know, hour and a bit's walk around the lake. So he was in my arms, and we fell in love. We really did. I enjoyed it so much. I just had to have a dog after that. A few weeks later, Kerry was away on holiday, so we looked after Brian, and he'd had his jabs by then, so we were walking him. And the experience of having a dog and walking a dog, and when you're out with a dog, everybody talks to you. And I know when you're out in the countryside, people do, but in a town, people don't, especially a single male. But having a dog, everyone talks to you, and I just found that ace. And the experience of having a dog, fantastic. And that started us on our journey for we got greyhounds, we got Ivy. We looked into different dogs, and over the summer holiday break when I was teaching, we got Ivy. And it wasn't very long before we got Tig, and then Mo came along, and then Freddie, and then Albie. We had 5 greyhounds. Now, Ivy passed away last year. She was a really good age, and it was terrible. Going to the vets to say goodbye to her, you just can't explain the pain and the hurt. But Brian, I got a photo of him from 9 years ago when in fact I think it's the walk when I'm walking around the beauty spot. Has had all sorts of things. He's had a heart murmur and other issues that have been extremely expensive. I talk about sinking money into it. But of course you do for your pets, don't you? And for Kerry, it's started a business because she now has had a lot of litters. She has a couple every year for people, and does this like the consultancy work for it. She walks dogs, she has dog boarding, and it's her business, and she's doing really well at it. And I help her out 3 days a week, and it's amazing. Bless him, he was off his food, which is very unusual for Brian. I mean, he has never suffered from lack of appetite. So she said, Dad, I'm going to take him to the vets. And a bit later she messaged me and said, it's the weirdest thing in the world leaving your dog at the vets and investigating suspected pancreatitis. But it wasn't pancreatitis, it was cancer. And he had a lot of cancer that was affecting his eating. Awful, devastating news. She was extremely upset. I was very upset. Everyone was really upset. I had a couple of sleepless nights. She had a night where he came home and slept with her, which is wonderful. But I went to see her on Wednesday. She'd cancelled all the walking this week, so Wednesday I went across. He was not very happy. His breathing was very shallow, pained, looked at it in his eyes, and he was really struggling. I don't think he was in pain. He was just finding it very hard to live, to exist. And I said, look, you need to take him in. You're better to go a little bit early than a little bit late, I think. His existence was awful. So she took him, her husband came home, her partner came home, and they took him. And he's gone. You always grieve for your own loss. I'm getting upset now because I'm upset for never being able to see Brian again. But for him, it was the best thing. Kerry said she felt much better afterwards because she knew that she'd made the right decision and that she'd done the best for him. And obviously, he was with her at the end. He knew nothing other than he was going to the vets, and he was having some more treatment, which he was very used to. And they just go to sleep. So, before I've got any kit sorted out, before I've got any beers, I'm having a whiskey. Brian, will always love you. Never forget you. So, different method. This is the DD 3B3 tarp. This isn't the ultralight. This is a heavy bugger, 790 grams, I believe. It's not too windy today, but I'm being careful with covers. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set a few setups that I know you can do with them. This is the steep learning curve I was talking about. I've never done a tarp before. So my first go. Got a lot of space in there. This is very much like the setup that Kev uses, but he has he uses a special tarp that's I think it's a Trail Star. This is configuration number 1. I'm not going to do configuration number 2. Configuration number 2 is just a lean-to shelter, but I want a bit of respite from this bloody mist. It's persistent. It's wetting you through, and you feel cold with it. So that's my attempt at a tarp tent. It's awful. I'm doing something wrong. Obviously, the entrance is virtually impossible to get into. So I'm going to have to look at what I've done there. I couldn't seem to get the pole height right. Anyway, I'm wet, soaked. I'm going to get inside there, get the ground sheet down and get set up, and I'm going to make myself a hot drink. The whiskey's going down very well. I mean, I've got the perfect location because there's nobody going to be up here tonight. I knew that the weather, well, no, I didn't know. The weather forecast was that it was going to be quite good. So I was fairly certain I was going to have not massive winds and not rain. Nothing else really mattered, but if it had been really windy, I'd have been struggling. If it had been lashing down, I'd have been struggling, because in those kind of conditions, you very quickly, your body temperature can drop and you can be moving into exposure, and that can be quite serious. I'm going to go with this. It's not ideal. I've got this flappy bit here, but you know what? I'm used to being in tents where there's a flappy bit going, so I'm okay with that. That is my Leviathan 900. And I think it's 1400 grams. It's a fantastic sleeping bag. It's going to be a long while before I can afford anything better than this one. It's warm. It's a down bag. You know, it's squashed into nothing at all in there. Just got it out, so it's starting to loft. But that's going to go in your backpack. And today, I'm using the Bush Pro bivvy, which Shona, Kerry and Hannah, my daughters, bought me for my birthday. And basically it's a big waterproof bag. I've used it on a couple of camps, but not as a bivvy bag. Just put my my Leviathan inside it. Then not long ago, after the group camp, I thought, right, I need a better airbag. Got the Big Angus, the Big Agnes Rapide SL. Now, I did look, and despite a couple of my colleagues saying wide and long, I went for the long one, but not wide, because I don't need wide. I'm not somebody who needs all the space to leg out on. So I'm going to stick that inside my bivvy. And then I am going to go for, hoping I put it in the right place. That's my time-lapse camera. In the other hip belt. Here we go. I've got the Flex Tail, now the Flex Tail 3 I think it is. Again, last week I hadn't brought the right adapter for it, but I have now. So you put the plug one in, you take the great big ginormous one out on the one-way valve. And that goes on there, and then you push. And you leave that to do its stuff. I hope that's not too loud for the camera. And that's going to inflate my bivvy. And I'm going to get that set up. I'm going to put my Leviathan inside it, lay it out, and then I'll show you the other stuff that's in my bag. So I'm coming off for now. I've got me Leviathan inside its bivvy, and I've got the Rapide underneath it. That's all ready. I've got me chair. I love this chair. It's not quite in the right position at the moment. I'm going to do a bit of tweaking without knocking my whole tarp tent down. But it's nice to be able to rest back against something. I need to move it towards the middle a bit, I think. But it's also waterproof on your bum, although I'm sat on the Z-Lite, so that's all right. More things to report. All right, let's have a look at my cook system. This is a new job. I'll put a clip on about the horrendous flame issue last week. Just hang while I adjust this. Quick edit. Oh, that's better. Yeah, you set the really nice fire maple stove up. What's it called? The 600mm stove. God, I'm rubbish with names. And it's brilliant. It's got the special thing on the bottom of it. Forget the name again, which helps it transfer heat to the water. It's a nice size. It's lovely and compact. I can put the a fuel stove inside it, alcohol fuel stove. Great, but I've not found one yet where when you actually light it, where the flames aren't licking all over the place, and it's frightening. So, of course, you see the Triangia ones, and you think they look ace because they are all compact. You've got the stand and the top all Russian dolling inside each other, but they are for 2 people or 4 people really, the 27 and the 25. And looking around, you see some kind of copies of them, and I came across this one. So this, you saw me unpack it on there. Let me just take everything out of its cover. You have the lovely stand, and on top of that you get little keyhole slots for the windshield. And in the middle of that you put your Triangia fuel stove, which there's so many copies from. I think I've got 4 of these blooming things already. I think one of them only cost me £3. But this is the one that comes with it, the Alocs one. And it has a device on top for changing the size of the flame, for making it a simmer. And then a lid, and the lid's had a gasket in it, and you can actually put fuel in it, and it stores the fuel inside it. Okay, you're not supposed to store the fuel inside it. Well, that's mixed. I think there's lots of people like protecting their asses by saying that. But my good mate Steve from Engus Wild Camps said, don't store fuel in it. So you'll notice that that was in a plastic bag that was actually double wrapped around it, just in case there was a leak. And I have stored fuel in it. So that's got my fuel inside there, which I'm going to keep sealed. And that goes next in there, fits in lovely. And then you have a disc that sits on top. And the pan that comes with its nests inside sits on top of that. And there looks to be a massive gap here. But there you go. The anodised aluminium thing has graduations marked on it. It is a 800ml pot, which is quite big. And you also get a lid which goes on it, which you can also use as a frying pan. And that's quite nice. Now then, you will recall I was worried about the flame kicking all over the place. If your flame kicks all over the place inside there, inside this, so you don't get that issue. People have loads of YouTube channels have looked at the gap between the flame and the pan and thought, that's huge, can we change it? And they've all looked at different ways. They've raised it, they have took the pan down, all sorts of things. And they don't really get any difference to the boil time. And I did a comparison with this and my Perville one, the Fire Maple one. Same quantity of water. In fact, I weighed the water into them. They were different alcohol burners, but they were the same model of alcohol burners. Now, I could have switched them over to do a control sample, but I didn't. And actually, this thing was 2 minutes faster than the Fire Maple one. Does weigh a bit more, and as you can see, it's a bit more bulky. But what I've had inside there is a pack with all of my drinks in there. So there's coffee, tea, soup, and hot chocolate all in there. So we will be getting that going. Like I say, you can store fuel in the stove, but I've got the fuel bottle as well. So this is the 300ml fuel bottle, which is quite safe. You've got to unscrew that and then press it down to get fuel out of it. This can come loose, I have heard, but I haven't had that issue. So it's not 100%. You know, when you've got inflammable fuel on your stuff, that's an issue. So when I do get myself some liquids and some food later. Yeah, that's the way. Food today is, we're going to go with a Fray Bentos chicken tikka, which I'm going to do boil in the bag, so I'm going to fill it with water and boil that. And I've also got a bag of Uncle Ben's original Chinese style rice, which people don't realise, but what you can actually do, as long as you break it all up so it's not clumped together, you can boil in the bag that as well. So those two will go in my water together. They will heat up, and then I can use that water to make my drinks. So I can make, well, I've got soup, tea and coffee. So I'm probably going to do a tea. I don't fancy coffee at this time of night. I'm going to do a tea and a soup, I think, with the water that comes from them. So that's, really good way of doing it. I am hoping that this Alocs set will allow me to do some proper cooking. We'll see in the morning whether I can fry some eggs in that. So that's my challenge. Yeah, so that's the new cooking set. Oh, bugger me. I didn't get us on camera. I don't know what happened. My stove tipped over. Fuel all over the place, flames all over the place. Very easy to put out, actually, but there were flames in the middle of my tent space. Quite frightening. I mean, well, I suppose wherever that fuel spilt, and I'm not sure whether it's water or fuel, then I'd have got, that's a shock. And I'm drifting off to sleep. My head is stuck so I can see outside the tarp, which is really a nice experience. And there's a bright light shining over. I heard a voice. I had no lights on here. And I watched, and for 10 minutes there was people coming up the path and shining the light above me. Now I'm well below Hurkling Stones, and I'm pretty much very stealth. So I don't know whether they were looking for campers or whether it was just people out on a night. But they didn't spot me on this occasion. Now the reason I've turned the camera back on is because I thought I'm quite cold. And I have one side of me was quite chilly. I'm not quite on the level here, I'm sloping a bit. I kept shuffling things up and moving things around, and it became obvious that one of my legs was not in the sleeping bag. Now obviously on a cooler night I would notice that more quickly. So I've just shuffling up, and I'm gonna have another go at that. I can't settle. We've had the fire.
which was okay. I sorted it. But there've been a couple of very bright lights scanning outside. Again, you know, nothing I can't deal with, but it happens and you see it happen. It wakes you up a little bit, and just when you're settling down to chill, another event happens. It's 2 o'clock. I think I'm going to start to pack up. I'll see what goes on. I'll start putting things in containers like I do. Yeah. Which will at least mean I'm easy to get away in the morning. But if I'm still not settled, I will just stick it all on and walk back down to the car.
Good morning. That's been a bloody awful night's sleep. I was almost packing up at 9 o'clock. It's after the fire and the tarp not being right. I was ready to going home, but decided against it. I slept in fits and starts, as you do, but I've not got a flat campsite. Idiot. Of course you have to have a flat campsite, but I'm on a slope, so I've been sliding. Thank goodness it's not really cold, or it's not raining, or it's not windy, because I'd have struggled. The tarp stayed up. I can see there's some condensation on the inside. I need to practice doing tarp configurations. I think I'm going to get them in the garden and give it a go. Yeah, so that's me. My status alert. This is something I've not had before. My ear was really painful. My piercing in my ear. Now, normally when I lay on that side, I put my hand sheltered around my ear to keep the piercing off the pressure point, right? But couldn't do it or whatever. So I ended up taking the piercing out, but even then, it's painful. Yeah. I'm just debating whether to do breakfast or get a drink. I don't think I'm going to. I've got plenty of water. I'm just going to have some water. Well, I've got all my water. Nearly. Chaos in the... Well, it's not in the tent, is it? And that's another thing about a tarp setup, because if it was windy, all this lot would go over. It'd be blowing all over the place. So I need to up my organising game. Definitely. Every little trace all packed up, ready to go. And I've collected what them scruffy bastards left on that sink. I'll be taking that away with me. I can see a little bit, but not very much. It's still pretty clagged. Probably less than yesterday. And there are the Hurkling Stones, just in case you wondered. Enjoyed that camp. I always enjoy them. Didn't sleep very well at all. Tarp setup was completely wrong. I was very perturbed about the fire. But there you go. One of them things. Yeah, I'm going to sign off there. It's very straightforward walk down. Just got this monstrosity to carry. There you go. So, made it this far. Really appreciate it, you watching the whole video. Thank you very much for liking the video and subscribing if you haven't. I do try aiming to do one of these every week. I don't always get quite that, but they're always wild camping. If they're not, then they will have a red border on them, but they're wild camping related always. So I'll be off. See you later. Bye.